I remember I had an incident. Oh yeah. Backtrack a little bit. This little talk here. I'm going to put a little label on it. Um, this little talk is about them who come selling themselves a little bit too tall, but too big, but yet don't have the goods. I remember I had an incident a while back where I was selling something, and by the way, assumption is it's a very funny, and also a very ridiculous, also very stupid bait that you can fall into very easy, right? If you're not careful, especially when you're doing a transaction, because assumption in many ways, shapes, or form is a transaction, right? And you really don't know the person you're dealing with until you've been dealt. It's like a card playing, right? Until they've dealt their hand to you. And you look down on it, and some people still have the nerve to either call a bluff or to insist that their hand is good to win the game, or that somehow you've cheated and they still deserve to win the pot, right? Let that kind of get into your head there, because a lot of people deal with this like this in life, and this incident is just to give a kind of an example, right? The guy said he's coming from way far away. I didn't even know that. Doesn't matter to me. No, I have a location of where I have my stuff, right? That I was, selling. I didn't need it anymore. I not that I didn't. It was basically I put an ad that it was broken and it can be fixed, and I offered a way below low price on it already. Well, the person began to haggle with me first of all. Boom. Okay. So I said, you know what? I don't think so. I go, I'll meet you. I'd like it a little bit higher because I know I spent X amount for it. I'd like to get some of my money back, right? Okay, fine. He agreed to it. On the way, he starts basically wants to know where I bought it from. So I told him I bought it. I told him where I bought it from, and then on the way, that's interesting. But not only assumption, of course, with assumption comes manipulation. $5, $5. I said no. I'd like 15 for it. We made that agreement. He shows up. Then he says that something is wrong with it, and he basically sort of alluded that I lied. I took the description out and I pasted it back in the ad to let him see, where did you see that I told a lie? So then he said at some point in the conversation that I said something to the effect that when I took a chance when I bought it, didn't think it was working. He somewhat pulled out that I said it was working. I had to pull that out. Said I never said that. I said I took a chance. I assume you. And this is where I probably was wrong myself with assumption, right? From the thread of the conversation, I was basically saying the next line that when I went to buy it, I took a chance that it was working, and it's basically now it's my loss, right? Because I'm selling way below of what I paid for it, right? Anyway, he said, "Oh, okay." So I said to him, I said, if it's either you either gonna. He came. By the way, let me backtrack a little bit. He came, and even though he offered 10, I said no, 15. On the way, we agreed on the way his way to my place. He agreed on $15, right? When he got here, he put $10 in, left, and then started telling me, "Oh, this was wrong with it, and that was wrong with it." I said, "No." I had to be firm. I said no because I inspected it. I knew what he was saying was incorrect. I knew what he was doing was an assumption, and he was trying to sell me an assumption. And then he went on that he went so far. Couldn't I just do it for $10? There are times in my life from way back growing up. I would have just said basically, but I grew into something in my life. I grew into the place about the principle of the thing. And I'm going to end with the story with that, right? The thing is about the principle of the matter is that when people sell themselves too big, you assume they come with principles, right? And the part that where assumption can be really bad on both sides is that he assumed, and I'm assuming that he assumed that I could be taken advantage of based upon my thread of conversation with him. See, the thing is about people who sell themselves too big, but yet are really small people, and I'm talking small in the inside, is that they come with a whole lot of assumptions and they assume that you're not going to see through them. That is the part that's really bad about life as we live it in general, is that there are different people that like to sell you. And when they sell you, they're snowing you, they're dropping snow on you, right? And it's to cool you off, to cool you down from being a little bit more aware. See, awareness is a very high temperature discernment, I should say, even is a very high level, uh, high temperature ability to have, right? And when we let our guard down, we're basically giving the other person credibility. And we're the part about saying about selling himself too big. This guy basically sold me, okay, from his profile that he's a public speaker and he's a public speaker in a well-respected organization. So I took that as his reputation, as his calling card that I was dealing with somebody who was reputable. Lo and behold, no way. I would say that in your general walking, talking, moving about in life, as you live, that's why they say life. Yeah, as long as you're breathing, it's called life, right? Is that whatever the situation is, it is, and I'm still learning this, but I would share my encouragement, inspiration is that you learn this as a quality. Learn how to size people up. Because people who sell themselves too big usually sell themselves too big from where they think they belong and not who they are. See, who a person is should never ever be determined by their quote unquote whatever there says their business card, however they come dressed, whatever station they claim to be in life. If they're a person of low character, that is the the tall the height of the person. They are I'm gonna say many, but they are definitely a bunch of dwarfs. 6 feet, 5'10", 4 feet, 5'6", whatever the heights and or the weight, whatever. There are many midgets, dwarfs in life that you will encounter, small inside and wearing big appearances. And the only way, the more trusting you are as a person, the more you will be. And however, trusting is a beautiful quality to have because trusting helps you to be much more. How can I put it? Much more at peace. You don't have to be too worried and too fearful about going through life, but it doesn't hurt that with your peaceability, you have discernment walking with you. You know, that's a friend who's kind of like saying, "Well, you might want to think about that. Let's kind of look into this a little more deeper, right?" And it doesn't hurt that little time in your life to take that time out of your life to get a little bit more in depth. Get in depth about okay, what's going on here? This person I'm going to deal with, this situation I'm about to go into. Let me look at this. Let me look at this a little deeper. Okay, is this what it really is, Or is this what it says it is, or is it given an appearance that is not true? You know, the beauty about truthfulness, and Jesus said this, that about knowing the truth, and the truth will set you free. The most freeing facts about life is that anything that does something to throw you off also throws off your time. And that is something you cannot afford to lose in life as you move along, because you could actually be spending your time doing more, uh, living a more valuable moment, right? So be very aware of them who come selling, and all they are, they used to call them snake oil salesmen. And getting back to about people who are too tall, but yet they're really small, is that people who like to present themselves. If you're authentic and you're a truthful person, you will know the people who like to present. There's something about the atmosphere on the first few seconds of the snip. The snip, yeah, like that, like a picture, right? The snippets of a picture. The first few seconds of what we call a first impression. Listen to it. You know, I've had people that I'd be dealing with, like to say, and one of social media, and I just had a certain sense. I mean, I'd block him, or I wouldn't accept the invite, or even people I've grown to known, and I said, "Ooh, I think," and then it's really interesting too with social media is that we really need to be careful of is that they're called followers. If people are following you, you're going to have to be extremely careful in your social media and start asking and ask the Lord God, why is this person following me? And I'm going to go into this in another video about getting back. And this other thing I'm going into is about monitoring. People like to monitor you. Do you know that when you are busy checking out a person to see whether or not you should deal with them, they're also checking you out. And don't assume that people are not doing called their from the place of darkness, their safety. Do you know what a person of darkness, what's their safety when they're checking you out? That you don't figure out who they are. Your place of safety is that you're checking out to find out who they really are. Two different worlds, isn't it, right? One is checking you out, following you, monitoring you, right? Looking for weaknesses in your life. Their curiosity is a bad curiosity, right? Your curiosity doesn't last that long. Your curiosity is that short of a time because they're not as important. See, what's really important in life in general as you live and you move and you have your being is that the values, the qualities, those are the things, because those are the things that leave long lasting impressions that is matters the most. That's what you want to have in life. Golden moments. So when people come selling themselves tall, you'll know something for the first little bit there. You just something says to you, take a second, pause, just pause. And you'll find that the majority of times that person selling themselves too tall are rather very short in stature and have nothing to do with them. Every one of us has sense enough to know that if someone gives us a $2 bill or a $2 coin and said, that's $10, every one of us, and I'm sure every one of us does, hopefully every one of us has sense enough to look down and get, yeah, right, that's not $2. And that's not $10. It's only $2, right? Let that valuation find its way through the rest of your life. Have a good day and do like and subscribe. Thank you.